I want to say a word and I want you to notice your immediate reaction to it. Not your intellectual response, your gut reaction. The feeling that comes before the thought. Are you ready? Okay, here's the word. Networking. What happened? Did you feel a quiet resistance to it? A mild discomfort? Maybe a mental image of a room full of people in lanyards exchanging business cards and saying things like, let's synergize, let's circle back. I mean, you know the corporate lingo. Maybe a sense that networking is something that other people, more extroverted, some or more strategic, more socially confident people do, and not you or not yet. Not until you have something worth offering. If any of that resonated with you, if any of that resonated, this episode is for you, because I want to completely dismantle the version of networking you have in your head and replace it with something that is not just more accurate, but infinitely more accessible, more human, and when you understand it properly, something that you are probably already doing, but you haven't put a name to it, just without, you may not have the language to call it what it is yet. Now, welcome back to After Campus series. This is episode 11, and this is week 3, if you look at it that way. If you have been with us since week 1, the first episode of week 1, thank you. You've covered extraordinary ground. You've covered identity, career mapping, transferable skills, the comparison trap, the full framework for the pre-internship period that we covered as well, the mental health, clinical maintenance, CV building, and 20 specific things to do with the time. That is 2 weeks of real, practical, foundational work. And now we build on it, because week 3 is about one thing: getting into the room, understanding how professional relationships are built, finding the opportunities that exist beyond the obvious postings, and developing the visibility and presence that means opportunities start finding you rather than you always having to chase them. Now, we start today with the foundation of all of it, which is networking. What it actually is, why it matters so much in healthcare specifically, and how to do it in a way that feels honest and natural rather than calculated and uncomfortable. Let's begin. And I want to tell you about 2 graduates as a way of beginning today's conversation. These 2 graduates did the same course, attended the same university, had same year of graduation, and both are talented. Both are hardworking, and both with genuinely strong clinical foundations. And let's call them Kamau, and the other one we call them Priya. Now, Kamau believed deeply and sincerely that merit was enough. That is what he believed, that merit was enough. That if you are good at your work, if you showed up, performed well, kept your head down and did the right thing, the opportunities will find you. He had seen this work in medical school, of course. Study hard, pass well, get recognized. And so he applied that same logic to his career. He sent applications. He waited. He refreshed his email. He watched opportunities go to people he knew were not more qualified than him. And he grew, of course, quietly frustrated. Not bitter exactly, but confused, because the system he thought was meritocratic was not behaving like one, apparently. That wasn't how the system was behaving. And Priya, on the other hand, had a different understanding. Not because she was more strategic, not because she was more calculating, but because early in her training, almost by accident, she had watched something happen that changed how she saw the professional world. She had attended a small departmental seminar. And at the end, she had stayed behind after the seminar, not intentionally networking, of course, just genuinely curious about something the speaker had said. And she asked a question. The speaker answered that particular question, and they talked for almost about 12 minutes. And at the end of that conversation, which neither of them had planned, the speaker said something. And I want you to pay attention to what the speaker said. It's very important. I'm looking for a graduate to assist with a project I'm running. Would you be interested? Now, Priya almost said no because she didn't feel ready, because she wasn't sure she was qualified, because the whole thing felt too casual to be real. But she said yes anyway. And that 12 minutes conversation that they had, that unplanned, unstaged, genuinely human exchange, changed the trajectory of her career. Now, Kamau and Priya were not operating in different systems. They're operating in the same systems. They're operating in the same system, but they had fundamentally different understandings of how that system worked. Now, Kamau believed opportunities were distributed based on merit. There is nothing wrong with that belief. And Priya, on the other side, had discovered by accident that opportunities are distributed through relationships, not exclusively, not unfairly, but predominantly through relationship. And that insight, that the professional world runs on human connection as much as it runs on competence, is the foundation of everything we are talking about this week. Is a foundation of everything we are talking about in week 3. Now, let me tell you what networking is not. Networking is not a room full of strangers exchanging business cards. That is not networking. It is not a performance of confidence you don't feel. That is not networking. It is not a strategy for extracting value from people who don't know you. It is not something you do when you want something. It is not reserved for extroverts. It is not something you start when you have experience. That is not networking. And it is absolutely not something that people like you, health professionals, scientists, clinicians, are somehow exempt from needing. You're not exempted from needing it. Now, here is what networking actually is. And I want you to pay attention because this is very important. Here is what it is. Networking is the deliberate practice. You do it deliberately. Deliberate practice of building and maintaining genuine professional relationships. And that is it. Genuine professional relationships. The same thing human beings have been doing since the beginning of organized society. Connecting with people whose work intersects with yours. They've been doing that since the beginning of organized societies. Now, finding common ground, offering something of value, staying in touch, being the kind of person that other people remember and think of when an opportunity arises. When I talk about networking to health professionals, I often get a version of the same objection. But I don't want to be fake. That is a comment I normally get. I don't want to use people. I don't want to be one of those people who only talks to you when they want something. And understand that objection and understand it well, because the version of networking those people are imagining is transactional. It's extractive. It's performative. And that version is not just uncomfortable. It doesn't even work. Okay? It doesn't even work. Now, people can feel when a relationship is purely instrumental. They can feel that and they pull back from it the moment they feel the relationship is purely instrumental or is purely transactional. But genuine networking, relationship building that is honest, mutual, and consistent, it doesn't feel like networking at all. It feels like being a good colleague, a good mentee, a good community member. It feels like showing up, staying curious after you've showed up, being generous with your time and your thinking, and of course, maintaining the connections you build rather than abandoning them the moment they stop feeling immediately useful. And that is what we are building toward. That is what we are building toward. Not a strategy, but a habit. We are building a habit. And I want to spend a few minutes on something specific, because the resistance to networking among health professionals is not just generic shyness. It is not just about generic shyness. It has particular roots, and understanding those roots makes it easier to address them. It makes it easier to address them. First, the medical culture valorizes independence. Medical culture valorizes independence. And from the very beginning of your training, you are assessed as an individual. From the very beginning, you are assessed as an individual. Your grades were yours. Your clinical performance was yours. Your success or failure in an examination was entirely your own. And so you internalized reasonably that professional advancement is an individual endeavor. You work hard, you perform well, you advance. The idea that relationships, other people, play a significant role in where you end up feels almost like cheating, like an admission that your individual merit is not enough. And that discomfort, that sense of professional purity, keeps many health professionals from investing in the relational dimension of their careers until they are years in and wondering why progress feels slower than it should. Secondly, you are never taught how to do it. Now, medical school teaches you clinical skills. It does so, and it's good at it. It does not teach you professional skills. How to introduce yourself to someone you admire. How should you do that? How to follow up after a conversation without feeling like a burden. How should you do that? How to maintain a professional relationship over time. How to ask for help in a way that is direct and also it's respectful. It's quite important. Now, these things are simply not in the curriculum. And so most health professionals arrive at their careers without any framework for how professional relationships actually work. And the absence of a framework produces either avoidance or clumsy transactional attempts that confirm every fear they had about networking being awkward. That is second. Third, the fear of being seen as less than competent. The fear of being seen as less than competent. Now, this one is subtle, but it is powerful. Networking, as reaching out, asking questions, seeking guidance, requires admitting that you don't know something. It requires admitting that you don't know something, which is okay, that you need something, that you are not fully formed and self-sufficient. And for a professional culture that rewards the performance of certainty and competence, that admission is frightening. That admission is extremely frightening. Asking for help feels like weakness, and reaching out feels like exposure. And so the safer option in the short term is to not reach out at all, to wait until you are more established, more experienced, more certain. But here is the painful truth. Here's the painful truth. Waiting until you are established to build relationships is like waiting until you are fit to start exercising. The relationships are how you get established, not the reward for being established. That is the relationships. Fourthly, the comparison trap makes it worse. And we talked about the comparison trap in episode 5. If you want to learn more about it, please go back to episode 5. You learn about the comparison trap. But it applies here with specific force. When you see someone who seems to have a strong network, who always seems to know the right people, to get the right introductions, hear about opportunities fast, It is easy to assume they were born that way. It is easy to assume that they have some social gift you lack, that their network is a reflection of who they are rather than something they deliberately built. And that assumption makes you feel like the game is rigged before you have even started playing. But networks are built. Networks are built by people who were once exactly where you are, who didn't know anyone, who felt awkward at first. Networks are built, who started with one conversation and then another and another until connection became a habit. Networks are built. And I want to give you a way of thinking about your professional network. Just a framework of thinking about your professional network. Not as a flat list of contacts. No, that is not what I'm giving you. But as 3 distinct levels. Each level serves a different function. And a healthy professional network at any career stage has people at all 3 levels. Level 1 is where you have your peers. That is in level 1, you have your peers. Now, these are the people at your level. They're the fellow graduates, they're the pre-interns, people going through the same transition you're going through. This level is the most natural to build and the most undervalued. That is level 1, because peer relationships don't feel like networking. They feel like friendships. That is peer relationships, like community. But do not underestimate them. Do not underestimate peer relationships. The classmate you support through the pre-internship period today may be the colleague who recommends you for an opportunity in 5 years. The peer you share resources with right now may become the supervisor who advocates for your promotion in a decade. It happens that way. Now, peer networks are long-term investments. They are. And the earlier you build them and the more genuinely you build them, the more they pay back over time. They pay practically, and this level looks like study groups. Practically, they look like study groups, pre-intern WhatsApp communities, alumni associations, young health professional networks, shared LinkedIn connections, etc., etc. Level 2 is where you have mentors. Now, these are people 1 to 2 significant steps ahead of you. Not necessarily the most senior person in the room. It may not necessarily be that, but someone who has navigated terrain that you are approaching and who is willing to share what they have learned. Now, mentors serve a function that neither peers nor senior sponsors can. They are close enough to your experience to understand it, but far enough ahead to offer genuine perspective. Okay, and they can tell you what the internship posting process actually looks like. They can warn you about the dynamics of a particular institution. They can warn you about that. They can tell you which opportunities are worth pursuing and which ones look better from the outside than they are. And they can help you see your options more clearly because they remember what it was like to be where you are now. Practically, this level looks like this. Practically, former supervisors, lecturers you respected, registrars who took time to teach you, professionals you met at forums, senior colleagues who are a few years post-internship. Level 3 is where we have sponsors. Now, this is the level most people don't think about until much later in their careers, and starting to cultivate it early, even informally, is one of the highest leverage networking moves you can make. A sponsor is different from a mentor in very specific way. A mentor gives you advice. A sponsor uses their capital to advance you. That is what a sponsor does. And a mentor tells you what to do. A sponsor tells other people about you. They are the person who says in a meeting you are not in, I know someone who will be a perfect for this, or who will be perfect for this position. And that someone is you. That is the work of a sponsor. Now, sponsors emerge from relationships. They are not manufactured. Sponsors are not manufactured. You cannot manufacture a sponsor, but you can build the kind of relationships through consistent, high quality engagement that eventually produce them. You can build that kind of relationship. Practically, this level looks like a senior consultant or senior consultants who have observed your work, or professors who know your intellectual caliber, okay, or leaders in organizations you have volunteered with, or professionals who have seen you show up, and they have seen you show up reliably, seriously, generously over time. I want to give you one mindset shift. I want to give you one mindset shift, just one, because I think it is the one that changes everything. And it is this mindset. Stop asking, what can I get from this relationship? And start asking, what can I bring to it? Start asking, what can I bring to it? That shift from extraction to contribution changes the entire experience of networking. It changes the entire dynamic of networking, because when you are focused on what you can contribute, you stop feeling like a burden. When you're focused, you stop feeling like a burden. You stop feeling like you're imposing. You stop feeling like you have nothing to offer, because you realize, as we established in episode 4, you have more to offer than you think. You have more to offer than you think. What can a pre-intern or medical student bring to a professional relationship? You might be asking yourself that question. Now, it's more than you realize. It's more than you realize. Your perspective as a recent graduate, or on what students need, what training is missing, what the new generation of professionals is thinking, is genuinely valuable to senior clinicians and institutions. Your energy and availability, your willingness to help with the research, to assist with projects, to show up consistently is valuable to busy senior professionals who have more ideas than capacity. Your knowledge of new platforms, new research, new approaches, because you are closer to the literature and the technology than someone who graduated 20 years ago, is valuable. Your genuine curiosity is another valuable thing that you can bring on the table. Asking thoughtful questions, engaging seriously with someone's work, caring about what they think is also valuable. You do not need years of experience to contribute to a professional relationship. You do not need that. You need presence. You need curiosity. You need consistency. And the generosity to give before you ask. I want to be honest about my own relationship with networking. I want to be honest about my own relationship with networking. I did not come, or it did not come naturally to me. I'm not by nature someone who finds it easy to walk into a room of people I don't know and introduce myself. I find small talk exhausting, and I find the performance of confidence in unfamiliar settings genuinely uncomfortable. And for a long time, I told myself that was fine, that the work would speak for itself. For a long time, I told myself that I didn't need to be one of those people who go out and parade themselves, their achievements and all that. And then I watched over and over again opportunities go to people who are no more qualified than me, but who are known, who are present, who had invested in relationships in spaces I had avoided. I saw them grabbing those opportunities, and I had to be honest with myself about what my avoidance was actually costing me. The shift happened when I stopped thinking about networking as performance and started thinking about it as simply showing up, going to the seminar, staying for the conversation afterward, sending the follow-up message, responding to the person who reached out to me even when I felt too busy. One genuine human interaction at a time. And over time, slowly, quietly, without fanfare, a network built itself. Not because I was strategic, but because I was consistent. It built itself because I was consistently present. Okay? And that is available to you as well. Starting now, you can engage in that, not when you are an intern, not when you are established as a professional. You can start networking right now. One conversation, one genuine connection, one follow-up message that you can just send that particular person that you connected with during a seminar or a conference. That is how it starts, and it is enough to start with that. That is episode 11 of After Campus series, the foundation episode for week 3. Now, before you go, 2 things that I'll ask of you, as I've always done. First, get to the comment section. Today, get to the comment section, and I want to hear your honest answer to this question. What has been your biggest barrier to networking so far? Not the answer that sounds good, the real one. Is it fear of rejection? Is it not knowing what to say? Is it feeling like you have nothing to offer? Is it believing that merit should be enough? Drop it below, because this community is most useful when we are honest with each other. And your answer might be exactly what someone else needs to see or needs to hear. Now, second is about the next episode. That is episode 12. The next episode, episode 12, that will be dropping tomorrow. And we are going from the foundation to the practical, specifically how to approach senior professionals without feeling like a burden to them. The exact words to use, the messages that get responses. Maybe you want to reach out via text. Which type of messages get responses? Now, the mindset that makes the whole thing feels less like an imposition and more like a natural human exchange. It is the episode that takes everything from today and makes it immediately actionable. See you tomorrow. See you in the next episode. This is Dr. Libea Bethwell, and this is After Campus series.